Let's talk about the process of decentering men. As feminists, we are accused of hating men, and yet, how do feminists decenter men while entering a relationship, especially a sexual relationship with men, at the same time? Let's talk about that. Hi everyone, welcome to Ones and Rabbits, and today is a special episode. So you're here with me, Kath.
And Gail, as always, yes.
Yes, and we have a special guest today, Vinay. Hi, V.
Hi, V.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited. I've never been to a podcast on these kinds of topics.
Especially talking about men and being a feminist and hating them.
Being able to shit talk. I've never been able to do that really.
It's like this.
Well,
this
we're all
feels
about
like a
shit
coven.
talking.
Like a coven.
Yeah.
Like a coven of man haters. And I am here for it. I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like we do a lot of this shit talking outside of this podcast, and I wonder what is the process of all of that, like being a feminist. We talk about men a lot, but I don't know. Okay, what do you think? We talk about men a lot in the sense of why they do the things that they do, and yet do you feel like that is decentering men, or is that just talking about men even more? Now I'm curious. What is the dilemma here?
I see where you're coming from, because I feel like it feels like a slippery slope. Like, even though whenever we are talking about men, we are not talking about men in the sense that, oh, like, I need a man, or like, we are not talking about men in the sense of the things men can do for us, or the things men can add to us. I don't know if this is coming across well, but we always talk about men in the sense of, like, how they are shitty people. So I don't think we are really centering them, because we have the three of us. We have very like nuanced conversations when it comes to men, and like you mentioned, it's a lot of shit talking and just reiterating that a lot of men are shitty, and literally all men can fuck you over as long as you're a woman. So I don't think we are centering them. Sort of, in a way, it's centering. V, what do you think?
I would disagree with the statement that talking about the oppression that we face because of men would be recentering them. I think first and foremost, decentering men means that you are trying to step away from an androcentric point of view in the world. So your world isn't centered on men. Your goals and your definition of what a woman is and what your definition of your life is not centered around men, around marriage, around being a mother, blah, blah, blah. And I think that as somebody who is oppressed by somebody because of their gender, so in this case, women tend to be oppressed by men, it's impossible to talk about this system of oppression without talking about who the oppressor-aggressor is. So you have to do it in order to be able to explain what's happening to you. I think decentering men means that we're not making our lives about them, but it doesn't mean that we can erase men completely, not because we don't want to, but because it's impossible when the system, especially a patriarchal system, is set up for us to face these experiences. And I think if we don't name who the oppressor is, we're never going to be liberated at some point.
That's a very good point. I remember seeing this TikTok video where this woman said that she has reached a level of decentering men where she doesn't talk about men anymore. She doesn't talk to men. She surrounds herself with women. She doesn't date men, and she basically does not engage or interact with them in her life, or even mention them unless it's necessary to. What do you think about that? Do you think that's like a level that's healthy, or that's a level of like dealing with the oppression to the point where you just don't want to deal with the oppressors anymore? What do you think?
I don't think we can judge someone for the way they decide to engage with men or their oppressors in some sort of way. I think it's easier for some people. Maybe not, the word might not be easier, but it might be the correct path for some people. Personally, I do like being in heterosexual relationships. So I know, like, I personally could not be like, oh, I'm never going to talk to a man, or I'm not going to engage with a man. Like, that's not something that's not going to happen with me. I just know it's not going to happen with me. And I have a brother who I really love, and if I were to decenter men, like, I'd like not like just avoid men, I'd be really sad if I had to avoid talking to my brother. That would make me really sad, because I mean, he's still a man, but I love my brother, no. But for some people, that might be the correct path. If they decide that they don't want to talk to a man, that's totally valid. Mm-hmm. I think especially for women who have unfortunately faced some type of violence, so physical, psychological, whatever, it's the only path. It's like the thing that's the healthiest for them. I just think it's different points of view for each woman and their path in decentering men. If that's what they want, then they can do it. Who are we to judge? I don't think I would be able to, realistically, for my life. But I don't know. I think Gail kind of understands where I'm coming from.
I do. I think we all do, actually. Considering, like, none of us are, lesbians. So, obviously, you have to talk to men. I get her, but I think it's going to be difficult because we live in a world where, like, you literally see men everywhere, even in places of position. So I don't know what happens when you're going for a job interview and the person interviewing you is a man, or your boss is a man. So, like, I don't get it. You don't talk to them. So yeah, I agree with V as well, that she may have her reasons, and we can't police or we can't judge, like, how someone who is oppressed chooses to communicate or not to communicate with their oppressor. And yeah, but I'm just thinking it's going to be crazy to deal with, honestly. And yeah, I don't see myself doing it either. I think there's a quote that like, spiritually I like men, but when it comes to every other thing, I'm like, God, why do I even like men? Like, what the heck? Why? I ask myself every day. But yeah, I don't think I can do with not talking to men at all. Definitely not.
I keep thinking of that meme, and I think we did mention that, Mindy from The Office, I believe, where she says, my body likes you, but when you talk, my brain gets angry. And it does feel like that, because I also, I mean, I'm also kind of heterosexual, so I also am attracted to men. Gail, don't look at me like that.
It's time for some oversharing, because the kind of was like, okay, can we change our steps?
Sometimes I have found myself being attracted to women, but more like masculine presenting women. So I don't think I'm bisexual, but I do feel like I would identify more with being pansexual.
You
but
know
still,
what?
I tend to be more attracted to men.
Same. Yeah? When I see mask women, I'm like, oh my God. Like, please tell me to do anything, I'll do it.
Tell me to kneel.
Right, I'll do it. Oh.
Anyway, we're digressing past our point. I think being attracted to men is, for me, the evidence that sexuality is not a choice. Because if I could choose, I would not choose to be sexually attracted to men. I do feel like the decentering men is, I agree with what you said, V. It's about not focusing on the meaning of our life, of our identity as being part of a man, because I feel like a lot of time women's identity is dependent on the men in our lives. Like, we are someone's mother, we are someone's daughter, we are someone's sister, we are someone's wife. And even something as simple as our name, right? When we get married to a man, we would change, some women would change their last name to a man. And then even things like calling women Miss or Mrs. and all of that are all signifier of where we stand in a man's life. So I feel like that's all part of decentering men as well. Gail, do you have anything else to add?
Just on decentering men, I agree with both of you. I think it's just about, making decisions and not thinking, what will a man think? What will a man feel? What will a man, I don't know, perceive when they see you? It's just about making decisions that are centered on your personal opinions, your personal values, your ideals, your self-worth, your identity as a person, not even just as a woman. Because I feel like sometimes the moment we start talking about gender, then people start going crazy. Because I get it, you're a woman, but at your core you also need to recognize that you are a person who is capable of the things that the other gender is also capable of. So it's just about making decisions and centering what will make you feel good and what will work for you, not what a man somewhere is thinking about. Because at the end of the day, he's just a man. Literally just a man, babes.
He's just Ken. Okay, right. So I want to attach that a little bit to the next point, which is all of us are attracted to men. So part of decentering men is about decentering the male gaze. However, because we're sexually attracted to men, there's also a sense of like wanting to attract men in return as well, so that the attraction is reciprocal, right? But how would that go hand in hand with decentering men when on the one hand you don't care about the male gaze, but on the other hand you also want your partner or potential partner who's a man to also find you attractive, to like have their gaze on you in a way? So how do we reconcile that? V.
It's a very nice question. Yes.
Yeah.
I think I have to give some clarifications about myself that I don't think I've spoken with either of you openly before. But since I've been a kid, I know I've been attracted to both genders. Like when I was growing up, I thought that was normal. When I hit puberty, I was like, doesn't everybody find everyone attractive? I found out that's not the truth. But that's why I said I am in a heterosexual relationship. Like I'm openly attracted to men. I think because of that, the way I perceive my attractiveness isn't, and this has to be for the masculine gaze, because I find everyone equally attractive. So to me, instead of being like, oh, I need to wear this because I think men are going to like this, or I need to wear this because I think men are going to like this, I wear what I like and what I feel pretty in. And that's what has always worked for me. I think I skipped a few steps in this kind of like, what should I do to find somebody attractive? Because I've always had a very big sense of my personal style ever since I was a girl. Like I can remember this openly. Like I know what I like. I know what I like to look like. I know that it's not everyone's cup of tea the way I dress. I do not care. I just really don't care. So
I think you dress very pretty.
Really? I think you're very stylish.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think on accident, but I kind of dress for the girls. Like I know that women really appreciate my outfits and they like outfits. In my experience, men like less feminine. It's really ironic because I feel like men like less feminine and elaborate outfits. And that's kind of what I go for, like dresses, elaborate, like makeup, hair, and everything. And girls like that more than boys do. I don't know why. Like it would kind of clash with what one thinks, that like men would like more feminine women and things like that, but they really don't. At least not in my experience. So I maybe I'm the wrong person to ask this, but I honestly don't care what anyone thinks about the way I dress. I just dress how I like and what makes me feel confident.
Gail?
I'm just taking it all this like, fluid sexuality energy going on here. But like yeah, I totally get you. I think so. I went through a phase where I was very male centered, and I definitely could classify myself as a pick me back then, when I would try to dress and talk and act for the male gaze. Like it was, I think the thing about living for the male gaze is that you stop existing as a person, because at some point you are just performing. You are performing for men. you want men to see you, to perceive you, to behold you, to desire you in a certain way. And a lot of times it does not make you comfortable because you're not doing things that you are going to feel like, great about. Things that you look in the mirror and you go like, oh, I like this. You look in the mirror and you go, oh, this guy will like this, which is crazy. But yeah, I went through that whole phase, and now thinking on that and thinking on where I am right now, these days a lot of times when I'm dressing, it's it actually irks me at the fact that a man is going to behold me, because I want to go out wearing the shortest of skirts. I love mini skirts. I want to go out wearing a belt, but because of a man, I can't go out wearing a belt because they're probably going to get like really stupid ideas in their heads and all of that. But I definitely agree with V that for a while I've been dressing to sort of like please a female gaze. Like when I go out and a girl tells me, oh, you look pretty, or oh, I love your dress, oh my god, my confidence is like skyrockets. A man tells me, I'm like, yeah, man, I mean, you niggas are out here, you people are out here fucking with like animals and inanimate objects. Like, please, this is not, I don't know, I don't really take it as a compliment. So I get where V is coming from. And I'm in a weird position with my sexuality. I've been for a while, for years actually. I don't think I'll come to a conclusion ever, but yeah, since
you don't have to.
right. So I've had moments where people who know me have tried to like, oh yeah, they try to like find a box to put me into. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I don't think I am. Like, can I just exist? So I think for a while I've just decided that I'm fluid, and that's it. I'm fluid, and that's just what I'm going to go with. So for a very long time, whenever I'm going out, especially since I became single, which has in years, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll meet a pretty girl today. So like I'm dressing to meet a pretty girl. I'm not dressing to meet a man. So I definitely think it makes a lot of difference. But I also feel like people who pander to the male gaze, a lot of times it's nuanced, because a lot of times there's like some self-esteem issues, there's some self-worth issues, and like I don't know, I feel like some childhood trauma can also feed into that, like always wanting validation from men. If you're not getting validation from like a father figure, like a brother figure at home, a lot of times you're looking for it outside. You're looking for it in men. You're looking for it in people who have, I don't know, no business making you feel the way you feel about yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, so many points that I want to respond to that. I don't even know where to begin. Let's do whatever comes up to in my mind first. I think that compliments from the girls are so much better than compliments from men. I get women complimenting, because I love wearing red lipstick, and women would compliment me on my lipstick all the time, and it feels so good when they compliment me on my lipstick like that. But if a strange man came up to me and was like, I love your lipstick, it would be like, what, why were you looking at my lips, what's wrong with you?
Yeah,
it becomes automatically creepy, right? It's so different. And I feel like you're right, V, that the male gaze and the female gaze are so different. For example, I was seeing people debating about the male gaze versus the female gaze, citing examples of Anne Hathaway and Sydney Sweeney. Both of them are gorgeous, but then people were making the argument that they rarely hear men go crazy for Anne Hathaway the same way that men go crazy for Sydney Sweeney. But to me,
Zendaya.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've seen that men think Zendaya are pretty, and I think Zendaya is like gorgeous. I've only seen women say like she's gorgeous.
Right? She's beautiful, but men don't see that. So the male gaze and the female gaze are so different. Another example of the male gaze and the female gaze, people were talking about Chris Hemsworth versus Paul Rudd. they were like, Chris Hemsworth is like a god. The male gaze, they were like, Chris Hemsworth is like a god. How can you not love this guy? And women were like, Paul Rudd is more wholesome. That's the female gaze, because he feels safe. He feels like someone you can unwind at the end of the day and talk to, not a gym bro, you know? So it's kind of like that way, but I do love dressing for the female gaze because I love frilly stuff. I love dressing like a fairy about to, I don't know, go set a trap in the forest with like glitter, with elaborate makeup or hair or bow, all that kind of stuff. I love that. And you're right that I think some men find that to be, it's kind of like how
too much,
right? It's kind of like how colored hair, for example. I love colorful hair, but men would go and say, oh, you know what, you look like a poisonous frog, all that. It's like, I just don't understand, you know? But on the one hand, I also understand pandering to the male gaze, because I sometimes like to joke that I'm a certified former recovering pick-me, because I also went through a period where I was very much a pick-me. I hated pink because, I mean, it's such a girly color. Men don't want women who are pink, right? Ew.
Yeah.
I want black. So all that stuff. And I went through that period. There was this one point in my life where every time that I felt down about my worth, I would think in my head how many men have a crush on me, and then I would use that as like a way to, I know it's terrible to think, you know what,
I'm glad you recovered, because that's wild.
That's crazy, right? But, and then I start to realize that male validation is a very, very cheap currency. And it's not sustainable, and it's not something that will give you like real validation, because it should come from you. It should not come from a guy, just a random guy, any guy. Yeah.
But you know what? I don't think we can blame. I'm pretty sure every person, both men and women and non-binary and you know, whatever, has gone through a phase where you have a lot of internalized misogyny. I don't think we can blame people for having it, because you're kind of born into a society that values sometimes men more than women. It's like, I think it's, unfortunately, it's not natural, but it's common.
Yeah.
So I think we can't, you know, be too hard on ourselves, because I think we've all gone through a phase like that. Mine isn't the same as that, but it's sort of, I would hang out more with guys because I was like, oh, I prefer hanging out with boys than with girls. Yeah. And then when I got older, I was like, women are amazing. Why was I depriving myself of like female friendships? And now I like mostly have like girlfriends than like boy who are friends. I do think responsibility comes after a certain like age. After a certain age, if you're still being a pick-me, then like there's no mercy.
That's on you.
Stop.
Yeah, because there's so much education, so much knowledge, like you can unlearn. I get it that from birth you are predisposed to have, you know, internalized misogyny, but as you go, you need to expose yourself to a lot of things to get rid of some of the notions that society thinks is normal. It's not. Like, it's not.
I think it's also a part of, if we look at history, for the longest time, women needed male validation to survive, because we couldn't get a job, we couldn't have a bank account. So what our survival was based on whether we can find a husband and whether we can keep a husband, because otherwise we would have no livelihood or whatsoever at all. So exactly. So historically, women had to do that for survival, but we don't have to do that anymore. And I feel like it's in a way breaking the cycle of generational trauma for women, breaking that cycle of relying on male validation for survival, which is, I think it's pretty nice. I think it's kind of cathartic, therapeutic in a way, if you look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move to the next point, is why should women decenter men? Why?
Because you'd be miserable if you don't.
Right.
I think it's that simple. You'd be miserable. I think, first of all, like Kath mentioned, if, let's say, like, for example, the trad wife movement, right? They're centering the men in, like, the most, like, a perfect example, because if you divorce, if that man cheats on you, if that man dies, and all you've done is centering your life around him, you have no skills, you have no saved up money, you have no backup plan, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're screwed. And isn't even just like he's going to cheat on you. It's like there could be an accident, he can be paralyzed, and he cannot work. and then you have nobody to take care of the children, assuming you have a child, and you have to work, but you've been out of the workforce for years, it's going to be very hard to get hired. Like, that's the most perfect example I can think of. Also, like I mentioned earlier, to deprive ourselves of beautiful friendship with women is so sad. Because I genuinely think nobody loves like women loves. Like, nobody will love you like a woman does. Like, I have friends who I love. They are my sisters. They're like my everything. I think not being able to give yourself that opportunity sucks. And then the other thing is, I think you're not, how to explain this? If you don't decenter men, you're not going to value the women in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to value your mom and all the work she's done and everything that your mom has done for you, because you think that your dad is more valuable even if he doesn't contribute to anything. They should ideally be equally valuable, no? But in this society, women usually take most of the labor. Mm-hmm. I grew up with a single mom. My mom is everything in my life. My mom is an example of a woman who has worked hard, who has shown everything that she needs to show to be able to raise her children, who has gone through a lot of circumstances that have been hard. And I would never value a man, over my mother. I never do that. And I think if you don't give yourself the opportunity to value your mom, your sister, your aunts, maybe your grandma, then, you're just going to be miserable. And just for oneself too, like, I can't imagine dressing because I feel like I have to do this so a man feels good. I don't know. If I'm in a relationship, I have to make less than my partner so he doesn't feel like he's not worthy. That to me seems extremely miserable. Having less education than him so he doesn't feel bad about that. Or not being able to go out with my friends because that just seems like an awful life to me.
I want to chime in a little bit because there are actual sayings here in Cambodia where where women are actively discouraged from pursuing higher education by older people saying things like, if you get higher education, the higher that you study, the more intimidated men become, and you won't be able to find a husband. No one will ask for your hand in marriage because you will be too educated. So they try to tell women not to go get a master's degree or a PhD because then you're not going to find a husband. So they actively, I've heard women being told this since I was young. Yeah. All right, Gail, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think that happens here also. And Kat, last time we were talking about Nigerian men and how, like, in Africa, Nigerian men are seen as they're like,
we're gonna get comments under this.
I know, they're like the flag heads and the banners for misogyny, for patriarchy. So quite recently, there was a discourse on Nigerian Twitter on submission, how a woman has to submit to a man. And people were talking about, if you have a partner and your partner says they don't like tattoos, as a woman, you should not get tattoos. You should not go get piercings because your partner... I saw the IROV. Like, that was my exact reaction. And that's... Yeah, it gets crazy. And that if you want to do it, you need to seek permission. Seek, not even tell that, I'm going to get a tattoo. Not inform. You need to seek permission from your partner to do any of those things. And I see it happening around here so much. And sadly, there were women who jumped on the streets and they were agreeing to it. Like, the pick-me's came out, the male pandress came out, and they were like, when before I got married, I'm like, wait, you've already been picked. Why are you still out here? You've already been picked by a man. You're married. Why are you still out here contributing to this conversation that does not even make any sense? And it's crazy because a lot of women came to say that, I wanted to go and get an extra piercing on my ear, but my husband said no, so I stopped. Okay, you stopped for who? For a man? Yeah. For your husband? God. See, maybe sometimes I think maybe there's a reason why I'm not in a relationship. And maybe there's a reason why a marriage seems like such like a far-fetched idea for me, because when I hear some of the things people who are married and people who are looking to get married say, the pandering, oh my, it gives me a headache. It gives me a headache. And I cannot imagine myself existing to perform that long for a man. Because when you don't decenter men, that's what you become. So imagine me like this. I like to change my hair color like literally every month. Every month I'm with a new color. I'm there like randomly. When I get depressed, I either get a piercing or I get a new tattoo to feel better about myself. So I imagine myself in a relationship with, a misogynistic man, and then I have to seek for their permission. So when they say no and I stopped, at that point, I'm not being myself. Myself is just attached to like whatever this man is telling me to do or not to do. I'm just performing for them. I'm not me. I'm barely even existing, honestly. And I think pandering to men, pleasing the male gaze, contributes a lot to shrinking yourself, being a people pleaser, and settling. You will settle so much because you are leaving all your decisions in the hands of men. Men are telling you what to do, what not to do, how to be, how to eat, what to eat. Like, the fuck? No.
Actually, what Gil is saying, it reminds me of two things. The first thing is that it won't stop at a piercing or tattoo. If you think that the person being controlling is going to stop at superficial things, it's not.
Yeah.
It extends to, you have to have children, you can't use birth control, you can't go out with your family, you can't do this. So it's just a life of control. So that, like, take it as a red flag. If somebody's controlling you, they're going to control you your whole life, and that's not the life you want to live. And then the second one is that I wanted to bring some Spanish speaker tea to both of you, because it reminded me of this Spanish influencer, who's been very controversial. Her name is Roro, and she does, it's interesting because what she does is food from scratch. That's basically her basis. She has a boyfriend, and she goes, like, her opening line is, my boyfriend was craving, I don't know, an apple pie. So I'm going to make an apple pie from scratch. You know, it can be a content you like or not. She has really good recipes. Like, she's good at cooking. The thing is, this started controversy because people are like, why are you doing things for, like, why is all your content centering around doing things for your partner? No, It's kind of the side from women. And then the side from men, which reached incel forums and like all these like Andrew Tate people, were like, that's exactly what she should be doing. She should be like doing things for, like, that's a great girlfriend. That's wifey material. That's the kind of person that we need as a partner. Like, men, you shouldn't settle for less, right? So basically, this girl became viral because of this content, and her main audience became kind of like incel, kind of Andrew Tate followers. In Mexico, we have an equivalent. His name is Temach. He is disgusting, a menace to society. He's like the Mexican version of Andrew Tate. And there are all these men that are like, we should be high value men, and then women should be submissive, and blah, blah, blah. So she posts this kind of content. Her audience becomes these kinds of incels, right? She becomes very popular. She does openly say she's feminist at some point, but men kind of dismiss that because she has like everything that they would want in like a wife, right? And a girlfriend. Recently, this week, she's an influencer too, right? Recently this week, she met up with Jake Paul, which is in itself a red flag, but that's kind of not the point. She met up with Jake Paul, and they did a video together. They were training for like a sporting event. He taught her how to box. That was it. That's what she uploaded. It was an event. That's it. Her incel community went up in fire. They were on flames. They were like, you see, no woman is worthy. Look at her. She hung out with another man. She probably cheated on her boyfriend. She's probably filled with his fluids. Like, that's why you know that no women are valuable. That's why all women have to be submissive and they have to be, like, in the kitchen and they can't go out, blah, 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 right? And then everybody's like, what is wrong with you? But the second part is she never decentered her content on, like, men. Her content was specifically built for men and this kind of men. That was going to happen one way or another. Yeah. These men were going to turn around on her the minute she did something that they didn't agree with. And that's why it's so important to not create your content, your job, anything in your life around men, especially these type of men, because they will attack you as soon as you do something that they don't deem correct.
Yeah, I agree. A couple of things to that as well. So basically, she's Nara Smith, but Spanish.
Yeah, right.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically,
That's what
yeah.
came to mind as
But Nara
well.
Smith, yeah, but Nara Smith, as far as I'm concerned, her audience is either equal, or it's kind of like more women.
Yeah.
Because from what I know, both of them are like a persona. Nara Smith isn't who she presents online. Rodo isn't who she is online. They both have that's like their online personality. But I think the big difference is that Rodo, like her audience is like the incel community. That is who like these alpha male like red pill people. That's who she built her platform on. And that's why I think it's so dangerous to center your life around men, especially these types of men.
So I have a little bit of experience with that as well. When I first started creating content, I focused a lot on sex education. I wasn't talking about the male gaze. I wasn't talking about a lot of like feminist critique of gender, of all of that. I was purely focusing on sex education, and men gravitated towards that because I was talking about sex. I was talking about these topics that they deem to be sexualized to them. So somehow accidentally my audience was a lot of male, and they were sexualizing me because of that, but then they never criticized me in that way. There was a lot of sexualization, but then I started branching out, talking about criticisms of gender, of talking about feminism, talking about men, talking about male privilege, talking about unpaid labor, talking about how you, like, even decentering men. Once I started branching out into all of that, they started labeling me as a Western feminist, as being brainwashed by white feminists, as being someone who hates men, as someone who will never find a partner, as someone who will die alone, all that kind of stuff. So that's the male gaze is like that. It's very fickle. Once you no longer are in that perfect mold of what they fantasize for you to be, because you're not like that. They build up this idea of you in their head, but once you start swaying from that or start challenging them, then they will turn on you. It's not like when your audience is girls essentially. That's a lot more sustainable. It's a lot more it's a lot more supportive and encouraging. So it's completely different. And when it comes to asking men for permission, going back to what you were talking about, Gail, I keep thinking every time a woman has to ask a man what to wear, what to do, whether she can go out, an angel loses its wings. I swear. Every time.
Fairy dies.
Yeah, both happens. Because
right?
I
Why are
always
you
say,
asking men for permission?
honestly, but that's what the men think of as, if you're not already married and you do all those things, you're wife material. I said the day a man tells me I'm wife material, I want the ground to open and take me along with it, because the standard for wife material is on the floor. Like, it's in hell. In fact, it's in hell. It just comes with a lot of, disrespect as a woman, disrespect as a person, of men not seeing that you are actually somebody capable of making decisions for yourself, decisions that are good for you. So yeah, God forbid that a man will call me wife material. Me, I'm not. Oh, please. I am not wife material. I can't cook, I can't clean. Oh, you don't want me in your house, please.
I feel like that would be an insult to me. If a man tells me you're wife material, I would just be like, well, what am I doing wrong with my life for you to look at me as a wife? I need to change
want a
what
man
I'm
to ask
doing.
me, do you hate men? That's a question I look forward to. Do you hate men? Then we can sit and have a conversation. But, oh, you're wife material. Hey.
I've never been told that in my life. I've never been told that. Like, that's never.
Same,
but I feel like I don't hang out
hear
with people who would tell me that. Yeah, I think I don't hang out with anybody who would tell me that. That's why I know. But at the most, I think this is like a universal saying. But I know like people here it's usually a woman, but now it's kind of both men and women. If you can cook, people will say, "Oh, you're ready to get married."
Yeah,
that's kind of like a traditional thing that's said. I think that's just like universal. Yeah. That's the most I've been told. But I think,
Oh, you
and
can
I'm sorry,
cook.
Gil, but I think I think any functional adult should be able to cook and clean. So I think that's like
Okay,
a
shots
requirement just for a
fired
human
now.
being.
That's why you said
As I
sorry
said, I'm
before
sorry.
you said it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Uber Eats exists, though.
Right, but point taken, point taken. But I'm trying because I realize that I may also have like some stomach issues. So getting food from outside has not been working out so well for me. So I'm working on this. But it's never ever for a man to tell me I'm wife material. Oh,
Yeah.
please, that's not.
I just feel like if a man tells me that I should cook for him, I would probably burn down the kitchen and never cook ever again in my life. That would be my first instinct. But none of them have said that yet. So my kitchen is still intact. I haven't burned down the kitchen yet. Yes, we.
I think for me, cooking, I've learned to cook fairly recently. I think from the pandemic on, I started cooking myself. To me, cooking is a form of love. So, like, I don't cook for anybody. I mainly cook for myself, my mom, and my siblings. I have cooked for my boyfriend, but they've always been kind of as a form of love. Like, I love you enough to spend time on working on this and these ingredients. I think that's a different way to view it.
I think that's how it should be.
But it's but it shouldn't
like
be
that,
forced. That's like the point. It shouldn't be forced. So if you want to cook for somebody, you can, and it's really lovely. And I think it's beautiful because it's a way of building community and memories and tasting. And like, if I ever get the chance for both of you to come to Mexico, I would love to cook like a Mexican meal for both of you.
You didn't cook
but I
for
think
me.
that's a different way of viewing it. Well, we didn't have time. You were like, oh, we were just eating at restaurants. But if like you had more time, I would have told you like, I'm gonna make you a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like cooking as well. I like cooking for people, but my instinct is if a man tells me to do something, my instinct is to do the complete opposite. No. But if you don't say that, if I just care about you, if I love you, then I'm going to cook for you sometimes, not all the time, sometimes when I want to do that. But if if a man told me to do something,
I just can't. I mean, you'll probably be eating a lot of salt and whatever. So I can't. I actually hate being in the kitchen, and I'm very clumsy. So I cut myself a lot in the kitchen. I burn food. I can burn egg. I'll be boiling egg, and I even forget that I have food on fire. Like that's how terrible I am. I hate being in the kitchen at all. So I think mine even goes deeper than just I don't want to cook. I don't know.
Can't.
No. And I don't even want to. That's also the thing. I feel like there's so many ways to eat. Why do I have to be there? Oh.
You know what, Gail? Being clumsy, burning down stuff and all of that. If you were in the 2000s, you would be the perfect YA main character, like main girlie. You would be the perfect
movies too.
Yeah.
It's giving Lindsay Lohan. That's what it's giving me right now. Like Lindsay Lohan in all her movies.
It's giving Bella Swan.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get too long into the episode, the next point is how should women decenter men? Going back to our topic that we have abandoned a while back.
Yes. Yes. So I think
any of you can start
I
first.
would. Oh, you go, Gil.
So I think I'm going to take it from like the main angle of like what this conversation was supposed to be about. Being a feminist, decentering men, but also dating men. So in my opinion, I already mentioned that I went through a phase where, I was very male-centered, I was pick me, and like, all those things. I would choose a man over my friend, and then I lost friendships with like girls because of that. And now, like in retrospection, with growth, and like on my journey as a feminist, I think one thing I've learned to do is not attach my self-worth to the romantic attention I get from men or I seek from men. Like I try to think of myself as I'm a person, I'm this person, I'm 100% on my own. If a man is coming into my life, they shouldn't be coming to deduct. I don't have to compromise like things I believe in, things that make me happy to make a man happy. That's not going to happen. If I want something, I'm going to get it because I want it, not because a man is telling me I shouldn't get it. And I've also learned not to attach my self-worth to sex, because I went through a whole phase where I was always in my head when I'm having sex with a man. I'm thinking, oh my God, what is he going to think of me after this? What is he? So a lot of times I was not even enjoying the act. I was just so focused on how they are going to perceive me after the sexual encounter. But then I started to, not do that anymore. I started thinking of sex as something that I want to do. So I'm having sex with this man for my pleasure. It's not because it's adding to my self-worth or taking from my self-worth. Like, I want to have sex with this man. I think you're hot. I think you're cute. But I just want to have sex with you because it's going to give me pleasure. And you have to make sure you give me pleasure. Because that's... right, period. Because that's my goal. That's why I'm here. And afterwards, that's it. I'm not going to sit and oh my God, this man has sex with me. Oh, I had sex with him. He did not have sex with me.
Yeah.
I had
Tashi
sex.
from...
I had sex with him and
What's
I
the
enjoyed
movie?
it. There's a movie like that.
Oh, Tashi from Challengers. Tashi from Challengers. That's who you have to be.
Oh, yeah,
You haven't seen
exactly.
Challengers? Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So I think I just mainly started thinking of it like I can sleep with this man and not feel like they took away from me. I'm here for my pleasure. And that is it. And I'm no longer going to attach my self-worth, my self-esteem to attention that a man is giving me. As Kat always says, like, men are so fickle. And why am I basing how I feel about myself or like the words a man is telling me? So yeah. Hell no.
That's great. Okay, V, I'm going to give you 3 minutes before my phone runs out of memory. So, go.
Yeah, okay. I think there are two ways to view this. One is a more academic, theoretical way of doing it, and it's doing the research. It's understanding how patriarchy affects women. It's understanding why it's important to decenter men. It's understanding what androcentrism is and why it's harmful to everyone. I would recommend 2 books that off the top of my head is that All About Love from Bell Hooks and A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I think they do a really good job of kind of seeing why women need space and why they need the self-love and why they need to reflect on like what women actually need to be able to do this. The second one, it's kind of tied into what Gail said, and I think it's loving yourself. And it seems simple, it's quite hard, but it's honestly just doing like how I dress, it's because I love myself and that's how I like to do it. How I act, it's because I love myself and that's how I want to do it. The relationships I have in my life, the way I perceive myself, who I want to be, my goals, my dreams, the work I'm doing for my future, it's because I love myself. And it doesn't matter if I get into a relationship, if I'm single, if I connect with men or not, because my goals are my top priority and no man will ever take that away from me. And I said, I'm in a relationship, but my goals, he will never take that away from me because they're mine. And if he is not here, they will continue. So I need somebody who supports me throughout that. That's the way it should be. It sounds simple. It's hard. So what I would recommend is honestly, like the simplest thing is to look at yourself in the mirror every day and be like, I'm that bitch. I'm that girl. Like my dreams are mine. And that's how we go on. So those are my like 2 suggestions. I really feel like centering yourself and loving yourself is the way to go.
I feel like the flip switch for me, the moment that I stopped dressing for the male gaze and I dressed for my own gaze. I dress so that when I walk past my reflection in the mirror, I like that and I stare at that and I'm like, you know what, that girl, I love looking at her and not thinking about what are men gonna be thinking when they look at me. And I think it's such a powerful feeling when you dress for yourself, when you dress to look hot for yourself, not for the male gaze, not for men. All right, let's wrap it up because both of you said a lot of amazing and very useful things, and my phone is like, we're running out of memory right now. Okay, so if you enjoyed this episode, you can follow us on all social media. It's Wands and Rabbits on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes like this for more great talk on wands and rabbits and sex and shit talking on men. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you so much V for joining this episode. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.